Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 796, written by MrKnightMoon. What we saw in the sky was inexplicable. I'm not gonna lie, this has a funny twist at the end, but at the time we were really disturbed. This happened to me and two of my cousins when I was 17 years old. One of them was 15 and the other 13. If I recall correctly, this was the 5th of January 2003. We are from a rural area in Spain, and by that time, it was hard to get a line on our mobile phones, so we used to spend a lot of time in spots where we could get some connection. One was an abandoned house beside a path leaving town. It was around 8 at night, and one of my cousins was talking by the phone with his girlfriend, while I was standing there just looking at the stars. Suddenly, I saw it. The lights looked like plane lights, but all were orange. It was so low I could see bits of structure surrounding the lights, and it looked bulk and not aerodynamic. It crossed the sky above us, zigzagging and changing from direction many times. I called for the attention of my cousins, and both were amazed as I looked at the object. The younger one started using the voice recorder of his phone to record a depiction of what we were seeing. And this was the strangest part. When it reached the horizon line above the mountains, it blew up, turning into a fireball. We didn't see anything fall, it disintegrated, and we kept looking there for a while just to notice there was a lot of activity. Many small lights were flying around the same area of the explosion. We stood there for a while, silently, not knowing what to say, until my youngest cousin tried to play the voice recording, and it was full of interferences with weird sounds and static, something that never happened before. He used to do voice recordings when something memorable happened to him. Just after that, things got mad and funny as his phone started ringing, and casually it has the X-Files theme as tone. We already knew the phone had that tone, but the timing was perfect. At that moment, I just managed to say, with a scared voice, "Okay, this just went weird as hell. It's time to leave." Case notes for file 796. What we saw in the sky was inexplicable. So even though I titled this Inexplicable, there might be some rational explanations. Maybe a meteor in the sky breaking up into fragments, and meteors, if they're small enough, will actually disintegrate in the atmosphere. They won't actually hit the ground. They have to be sufficiently large for that to happen, to protect the core in a sense. However, if that was the case, as it exploded, you would have heard a massive boom. It can even shatter windows occasionally. I think that recently happened, a few years ago in Russia, where it just blew up over a Russian city, caused massive damage, even though it didn't actually impact the ground. Otherwise, by the description of it and how modular it seems to be, it could be some sort of alien drone system. It makes sense. If there's aliens here, they wouldn't always just be around in their own ships. They would be in Earth orbit, in stealth, and sending down remote-controlled operated vehicles. They wouldn't have to be manned. I mean, we can already do that now. Of course, aliens would be able to as well. That makes much more sense. Case file number 797, written by fuziz, my brother in white. This was around 6 years ago when I was a senior in high school. It was after school, and I went to go make mozzarella sticks in the kitchen when I saw my brother, junior in high school, was sitting on the couch in a white hoodie that he always wears and light blue jeans. I asked him if he wanted some, and he totally ignored me. I couldn't see his face, but he was typing away at his computer and sitting slouched as he always did. I yelled at him to stop ignoring me and to just answer me. No response, and I was like, damn it, your loss. After putting the mozzarella sticks in, I passed the living room to see he wasn't there anymore, and I didn't think much of it at the time. Later on, when I'm sitting with my mom in the living room, he comes through the front door wearing a red and black flannel and dark blue jeans. I asked him why he changed his clothes. He was like, "What do you mean? I've been wearing this all day." I said that when I asked him for mozzarella sticks earlier, he was wearing white. He looked at me like I'm stupid and said, "I just came home from theater practice. I've been at school all day." I stared at him and asked if he was being honest, but then my mom backed him up. I was like, "Oh, I'm just being stupid then." But I was just deeply thinking because I know I didn't hallucinate him. I wasn't on any medication or anything like that. This memory hasn't left my mind and still makes me think about it too often. Case file number 798, written by X-Ray Anonymous, Mysterious Badland Lights. My boyfriend and I were stargazing in the Badlands earlier this summer. We lay there for several hours, seeing nothing more than the occasional shooting star or the faint moving lights I think are satellites that can be seen overhead briefly. But then, out of nowhere, two very bright lights appeared overhead and then quickly started to fade in brightness. One was orange and one was more greenish blue. They appeared at the same time in a bright flash, enough that we both gasped, and then faded to about the size and brightness of stars, but still distinctly colored. They looked like they were on the front and back ends of something very straight and thin. Looking from where we were, they were about an inch apart. They didn't blink or twinkle, they just slowly moved in a straight trajectory across the sky, keeping the same distance apart, which is why I think they were not two individual lights, above us across the sky. They slowly got less and less bright until we finally couldn't see them anymore. And yes, we are positive it was not a plane. We know what plane lights look like. We also saw the exact moment they appeared in the sky. They just appeared. They didn't just slowly come into view from the horizon. There was no sound either. We can't explain it. We don't know what it was. It was super vivid too. I would have given anything for a telescope at that moment. Case notes for file 798, Mysterious Lights over the Badlands. So as much as I want this to be alien UFOs, they may just be human UFOs, unidentified to us, but probably the government conducting experiments, trying to test out new technology, and I'm sure they're very advanced, and just conducting these tests out in the middle of nowhere, which is a reasonable place to conduct such tests. Now, an important question though, is even if these are designed by us or built by us, maybe there's some alien influence involved. Either they're feeding us technology directly, or we're reverse engineering technology that we discovered in a craft that crashed. I definitely like the idea that we're getting technology from some alien species that accidentally crashed on Earth. In fact, maybe it's all rooted in that. Maybe aliens aren't really here, in general. It's all humans, but there is an alien craft that crashed a while ago, and they just didn't bother to come pick it up because, who cares? It's not a very important thing for them. They're not interested in the prime directive, you could say. Case file number 799, written by Sleepy Bean 21. This cop car completely vanished. I have about a 45-minute commute, and I take the same route nearly every single day to work, exceptions being if my GPS alerts me of a crash or other traffic obstruction. Nonetheless, I'm very familiar with the route I drive. This morning, about 25 minutes into my drive, I notice a car pulled over into the left-hand shoulder of the highway, with a police car behind them. I distinctly remember seeing the blue and red lights flashing and thinking to myself, wow, glad my morning didn't start that way. As I approached the car, I checked my speed and moved from the far left fast lane to the center lane. I didn't want to take any chances. As I switched lanes, a utility van happened to pass by me, taking my original spot in the fast lane. This is where the glitch happened. The van was larger than my small SUV, but not so large that I couldn't see traffic ahead of or around it. I kept an eye out for the police officer and pulled over car on the shoulder, simply out of natural curiosity. Suddenly, it was as if the scene completely disappeared. There was no car pulled over, no flashing lights, everything was just completely gone. An empty shoulder lane. It was so strange. As I approached the scene, I remember internally thinking, wouldn't it be weird to drive by and this cop car no longer be there? And then it happened. It was as if my subconscious was aware it would occur. I'm typically a skeptic about these things, almost always trying to find logic in an odd situation. I even checked my rearview mirror for the lights to see if it was just having a temporary lapse in judgment or if the scene just happened to be out of my line of vision. Nope. Completely gone. Needless to say, the rest of my day has felt a little funky.